Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and today we're going to be talking about how to write a book while you are still in school or when you have a full-time job. These are questions that I get quite often because I wrote the first draft of one of my novels when I was in high school, and I wrote another draft of one of my novels while I was in college. So I've gotten a couple questions about this over time, and I thought I would answer some of those today with giving you guys some tips on how to write a book while you're in school or if you have a full-time job. If you go on to enjoy this video or find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a big thumbs up because that really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you like my video and that someone else might too. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get into today's video. I think the first thing that needs to be addressed is that if you are in school or if you are currently working a full-time job or even a couple full-time jobs or a couple jobs in general, that those things are probably your priorities and writing might fall a little bit lower down the list than you might like, but it's important to realize what things are most important and what things are most pressing at whatever phase in your life you're at. That was a really hard pill for me to swallow when I was in school, was acknowledging that school had to come first, even when I wanted to just, shirk all of my assignments, to just spend an afternoon or an evening writing, but in reality that's not going to be the best long-term plan. So it is important to realize what your priorities are and what things you have to prioritize, like going to class or schoolwork or going to work or working on projects after work if that's something that you have to do. And be nice to yourself in prioritizing those things and realize that that does complicate having hobbies. I really wish it didn't. I really wish that this was a much more cheery video than that, but it will get better here in just a second. Being nice to yourself and realizing what your priorities are will help tremendously in setting realistic goals. And the next tip that I have is setting those realistic goals. One of the things that's important to remember in writing a book is that writing a large project is not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon, so you have to think much longer term than finishing something in a week. Although it's possible, it's crazy difficult. So once you accept that writing is a marathon and not a sprint, you learn to really enjoy the journey much more and not stress yourself out as much on your timing that you make things happen. With being in school or with working a full-time job, it is an important reality to realize that you might not write every day, and that's okay. When you set a writing goal, if you choose to set a writing goal, be realistic in how much time you want to devote to writing the first draft of something or writing a book. For example, if you wanted to break down writing an entire book, let's say roughly 100,000 words is our average because it's a really pretty round number. If you would like to write a book in a year, that's about 2,000 words a week, which only breaks down to about 285 words a day. But if you don't want to write every day and you know that there are some days that are really crazy and hectic and there are some days that you have a little bit more wiggle room that you would like to write on, breaking that goal down by weeks and just having the goal of 2,000 words a week might be way more manageable for you. I would also suggest setting a goal that's a little bit underneath what you think you can realistically achieve, so that if you hit that number and then you write more, it's a huge thing and you can celebrate it and everything, instead of shooting for something that's higher and hitting underneath it and then getting discouraged because you're not writing as much as you want to be. My next tip is using writing as a break. This is to keep writing enjoyable and not put very much pressure on yourself. If you find writing to be really freeing and relaxing, maybe that's how you want to unwind after school or work for a few minutes, or maybe after a TV or social media break, you write for 15 minutes and then you get started on the rest of the work that you have to do that afternoon or evening. Using writing, because it's so creative, as a break can really let your mind rest and potentially even get it more ready to do your other productive tasks later because you let your mind be creative. In that same vein, you can also use writing as a reward for accomplishing tasks. Let's say you finish writing a paper or an assignment, or you finish a project for work, then you could sit down and reward yourself with 15 minutes of writing if that's something that you want to reward yourself with. That would also help train your mind to look forward to writing if you treated it as a reward or as a break. However, if you don't think you can write every single day, which I was not able to while I was in school, and I was definitely not able to when I was working a full-time job, as much as I wanted to during those times, sometimes it's just not very realistic. And if you've come to that conclusion yourself, you can try to put emphasis on your weekends and sometimes your evenings and your time off, or your summer breaks or your winter breaks or your spring breaks or whatever breaks you get from school or whatever PTO or time off you get from work. You can focus on writing during those pockets of time. In attempting to identify pockets of time where you can write throughout the day or throughout throughout your week. One thing that you might want to consider is your commute. Whether you're taking a transportation system like the subway, a bus, or a train to either school or work, you might be able to use that time for writing or brainstorming. And if you drive or commute to work, you might be able to use that time to brainstorm or use voice to text to continue writing, or at least continue jotting down your ideas in those small pockets of time as you are able to find them. This is a really nice way to just feel like you're continuing to work on your story, because you are, without having to sit down every single day and get writing done. You can just at least keep the ideas percolating so that when you do have the opportunity to sit down and write, you have the ideas to write. And then kind of in the same vein as trying to identify pockets of time, you might also be able to utilize NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month that happens every November, where authors will try to write a total of 50,000 words, totaling in the rough draft of a novel. If that sounds a little intense, because it is, they also do Camp Nano in April and July, where you get to set your own goals. But these months, so November, April, and July, all have a really great community built around them of other writers and other authors trying to write massive projects or writing at all during these months. And accountability could be really helpful. And so if you choose to write during any of these months, you can tap into that community that is built around NaNoWriMo and Camp Nano to help hold you accountable to chasing your dreams. If you are going to frame writing a book like this, I would suggest trying to write a little bit more during those times, just so that you feel like you're making a lot of progress in whatever project you're working on, so that whenever you have to go back to school or work or whatever you are scheduled to be doing during the day, you are then that much further along in your project. Something I forgot to mention when I was filming this video earlier is to limit as many distractions as you possibly can when you actually get to write. That means turn off your phone, or at least put it in another room, and turn off your Wi-Fi. This might be really hard at first, but as soon as you can learn to step away from your phone to be more productive, it's gonna work wonders. Which is another thing. You have to be so nice to yourself when you are writing a book in general, not to mention the added complication of being in school or working a full-time job while you are writing a book. So this is a very friendly reminder that progress is progress, and even writing a sentence or two more in your book is more than you had when you started. So in summary, those are my tips. Be nice to yourself, try to be realistic, set a goal that you think is a little bit lower than your realistic goal could be, just so that then you can celebrate writing more than that goal. Remember that progress is progress, and little pieces of effort add up over time into eventually a finished book. Remember that writing a book is a marathon and not a sprint, and it's important to be nice to yourself. And as we go into this fall and this upcoming school year, I wish you the best of luck with writing your book. Know that I'm here rooting for you, and what you are creating is truly magical. If you guys have any other tips for people trying to write a book while in school or while working a full-time job, I would really appreciate it if you could drop that down in the comment section down below, as well as any pieces of encouragement, because it can be very discouraging sometimes when you feel like you're alone in the creative process or going through something alone. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt. If you liked this video, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm currently posting 2 videos a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.